Muy buenos días, ¿qué tal? Yo soy Gabriele Palma, soy director de CASA SEAT y hoy tenemos un evento muy interesante, ya que hablaremos de cómo nació el logo de CUPRA, que como sabéis es una marca que hemos lanzado aproximadamente hace 2 años. Voy a hablar en inglés, así que entramos ya en el mood de la presentación, ¿vale? Today we will have Riccardo Pietrantonio, Alice Mela and Gabriele Gambotto, who are the creators of the logo CUPRA. With Riccardo, I think we met a few years ago, and Riccardo now is a Slow Future, and he was also the founder of Blackboard Berlin, which was the agency who created the logo. I think it's very interesting to understand how it was generated, the concept itself of CUPRA, and then how the idea of the design of the logo or the concept of the brand then was actually driving the creation also of the product, the materials, and the features itself of CUPRA. Therefore, I think we will have a very special conversation today, and I will invite you to enjoy. And I think we will have also a token that you can also spend in the bar upstairs if you want. Okay? Thank you very much. Have a nice.
Thank you, Gabriele.
Thank you.
So, Alice.
Hi, nice to meet
Alice
you.
Mela. I'm Riccardo Pietrantonio. So, as Gabriele told you, I'm one of the founders of Blackboard Berlin. It was an agency working with the Volkswagen Group, Volkswagen first, and then Audi, and then we make some project for CUPRA. And the story of CUPRA began when Seat called me for thinking about the project of the logo of this new brand, and somebody told me that they want to create a premium brand, not necessarily a sport brand, because CUPRA story was from Seat Sport, but CUPRA became not only a sport brand, but a kind of premium brand. Somebody told me about the gold label whiskey instead of the red label. So just to create a premiumness to the brand for grow the brand. I'm a founder of Slow Future, that is now the new agency based in Barcelona. Now it's not so much based in Barcelona because we are everybody working from home, and so we are spread in Italy, in Barcelona and somewhere else. But hope to come back soon to Barcelona. And so, as I told you, CUPRA is the premium lifestyle brand from Seat. The lifestyle was one of the first field that we explore to project the identity of the brand. Barcelona was a center of our talk because the power of Barcelona is very high because Barcelona is a strong city, international point, and this is also very creative about the spirit of Barcelona. So we was inspired by Barcelona, and we moved here to explore the city, and we work on the lifestyle. So the most authentic, the best, and the coolest. We try to put the element for building the milestone of this new brand. And also we explore the material and color. So in all the sport brand, all the company work with the chrome, with the carbon fiber, and nobody never used the copper. So we decided to use the copper for being innovative and for just for other reason. The copper was a material that inspired us, and we decided to use the color and the material itself to build the car, to make the brake or some details of the car, and so we make kind of a mood to present the material and the color. Here you have the copper touch. We work on the garage, where the garage is itself is one of the milestone of the brand, no? Because came from the sport car. So we put the copper, also the stone, and also the color related to this material. We have some mood here. Also the blue stone, you know, is one of the color of the brand. Inspired by the nature, inspired by this kind of mood. And we put together the element, and it became the identity of the brand, the texture, and also we have. These are kind of a slide, kind of pieces of our presentation since the beginning, and we explore different words to find finally the right direction. Here you have some mood of the material. Raw concrete, the wood, the tech wood, because it's, you can find it in boats, in some other application, and so you can see the logo. The actual logo. And behind the logo we work, as I told you, in different words. We explore the world of circuit, so the electronic circuit. We explore the world of the avio, so the aeronautical world, and we explore also the world of tribal. So the first inspiration was the circuits one, and this was one of the first final logo we present at the end. This is a vertical and horizontal logo type. And this was one of the first presentation. We tried to put some mock-up to see how it worked on the product. The second inspiration was avio. The word of avio is full of details. It's full of some element that we try to use. Also the lettering and the logo. This was the second proposal. And the tribal one was the final result, because tribal means also kind of a strong personality, a kind of we were inspired from African mask and other elements that we put together, and this is the synthesis. This was one of the first final logo. Now is changed because we work on it and we make fine tuning to put it in 3D, to put it on the product and to use in every situation, in different situation. Was one of the first exercise with a vertical and horizontal logo with the lettering, the first proposal of lettering. The 3D badge. Now, this is changed again. Just to show you all the process, all the project takes, I think, 6 months to finalize the logo. And then you can see the various applications. Some exercise of merchandising. This is just, I can show you just a few pages of the brand manual, the corporate identity. This is the brand book. So you know, your student, you know that the brand book is that you can see what is right, what is wrong. No? This is various application. The measure, the distance from other elements. This is what's wrong. This is the chromatism of lettering. Some other application. The distance between the lettering and the log type. And this was one of the first suggestions for dealers for different spaces with the brand cut into the copper plate, or this is on concrete. This was one of the first proposal of the CUPRA corner in a big space, a big SEAT space. This is the little corner, like this, with all the elements, all the materials, and the texture that became the texture of CUPRA. This is the front view. With the wood, the copper application, the name, the suggestion was was to use the name Atelier, but now it's not used. But everything changed and fast. This is the second size. This is the large size because we think about it. Use different corners for different spaces, depending on the dealer. This is 2 walls. This is small size, 1 wall. This kind of example. This is element for the external dealers, like this. This was another exercise to display the picture, and we proposed this application with the seat belts used as to hang the picture, and this is used in the CUPRA office in Martorell, I think. There is an installation like this. This is the second display with the picture and pictures are cutted in different stripes and can be aligned together horizontally. This is kind of some proposal to see how the picture work on the wall. Some application. This is also part of identity. And then after making all the project of the identity, we were asked to think something for the Geneva Motor Show. And since everybody use LED wall or just some content put it in a big screen or something, we think about a scenic machine. And so we start a conversation with TODO and with Leva, that are our partner in this crazy project. And we start to think about the kinetic wall that was used for Geneva and was a kind of star in Geneva Motor Show, because everybody come to see the kinetic wall, to make a video, to make picture, to post it. And so we start from the grid of the car, from the logo, and this was the kinetic wall working. And Alice is the mother of this project, and
yeah,
and Gabriele too. But Gabriele today is blocked in Ekaterinburg.
Yekaterinburg,
in
Russia.
Russia with the COVID, so didn't come because he's blocked for 15 days in a hotel there, so can join us. And so this project was one of the first phygital, as we call the physical and digital project. And this was the first prototype made by paper and tape in our studio in Torino, and we start working with this element. And now Alice can explain all the process we made.
Thank you, Riccardo. Hi, everybody. I'm Alice. I'm design director for an interaction design firm. And together with Riccardo and Leva, the company from Gabriele, we went into the development and the realization of this tiny paper prototype, which is where everything started from. The first thing we did was working on the original pattern from the logo. So moving from a general triangular structure, which was here, to something that could actually fit the logo. So working on equilateral triangles. And then starting to understand how we could make things move, starting from these lines. Generating a larger pattern that was finally an hexagons pattern. And then, so after defining what the pattern would be looking like, we thought, okay, now how can we make it move? And that started the hardcore design and engineering development part of the project. So the first inspiration we got, mechanics-wise, was the umbrella mechanism, understanding how we could make this hexagons pattern move and create openings so that people could see the car that was hidden behind it. And that is where the difficult part of such kind of kinetic project starts, because you have two tensions here. You have the designer, myself, that wants to make things beautiful and wants to make things fit with the brand and the identity, and wants to make an experience being smooth. And then you have the engineering side. You have the technicians. You have the technical development that wants to make things working, wants to make things steady and lasting forever, possibly. And that's where you get the tension. Because you need to make things work with designers knowing what they want to do and engineers doing what they know how to do. And when you manage to make this work, that's where the magic happens. That's where special projects like the kinetic wall are born. So this was a process made of a lot of trial and error, a lot of experiments, a lot of tentative mechanisms. So this was the first mechanism that we developed. I know it looks a bit sketchy, but it's, I mean, that was the very first prototype, which I didn't like because it wasn't elegant enough, because it was leaving a hole in the triangles that was showing the mechanics. And so this was the first tension moment with the engineering team, because this was a very steady mechanism, but I didn't like it enough. So it was like, okay, maybe we can work a little more on the look. And that's where we went to the last prototype. So the first one was the umbrella, then the second one was this one. And then finally, after 1 month, we got to the last prototype. That was after a process of stress testing a lot of ideas. And that's where we got to this point. Now, again, this doesn't really look like the wall you saw before, but this is how things start in this kind of development. So this was the final mechanism. It was a double lever mechanism. And this tiny prototype has been running on our desk for about 3 months in a row, because while we were developing anything else that was coming around it, we wanted to know that our gears, our mechanics were actually going to be long-lasting, because it was going to be a permanent installation. So that was the next step, like trying to size the triangles, understanding how big we wanted them to be, trying to understand how they would move. This was yet not a final prototype, because you can see there's a gap in between, but it was a step-by-step development, just to give you an idea of how many tests you need to do with such a project. And this was the next one. And finally, this was the very final prototype before we were ready to go into production. And it was another test for us to understand how noisy it would become. You can hear in a second. Oh. So every prototype we did was to test something, was to test the speed, was to test the noise, was to test the leverage. And it told us something about how to develop the final product and how to go into production without making any mistakes, because we didn't have time for mistakes. The whole production process from idea to Geneva Motor Show lasted only 3 months. So you can imagine that we have to move fast and we have to move in parallel. So this was the final mechanism that we developed. As you can see, there is a motor that is holding a double lever mechanism that is actually moving the triangles, and the triangles are hinged together. The whole development was done through parametric 3D modeling. I don't know if, I think there are some designers in the crowd. I don't know if you are familiar with parametric modeling, but that is what makes your projects go faster, because every time you need to change one number, the length of a piece, everything else changes accordingly, and you don't have to redesign the whole system. Then, obviously, for a special project, you need a special brain. And everything you see in this installation was custom-made. We couldn't buy anything off the shelf, because it was a truly new idea. So we had to develop our own PCBs, printed circuit boards as well. And that also was a process running in parallel with the mechanical development. So we had our little brain with our motor drivers, searching for the perfect signal in a very complicated electrical system, because the installation is made of 144 motors. But finally, it was totally worth the effort. So this was the final result. This was in Geneva. And it was a very catchy installation. Like Riccardo said, in a fair where everything you see is just big displays with cars on top of it, this was very much of an eye catcher at the fair. So people from far would see this strange thingy moving, and they were directly drawn to visit the booth. So it was very much working. It was also very much of a selfie spot. There was a lot of people taking selfies and making videos in front of it, because it was looking so different from anything else that was on display at the show. The structure was very thin, which was our main design challenge, because it was an unveiling experience. So there was a car, the hero car, that was hidden behind the wall, and therefore we wanted to make the frame as thin as possible for the experience to be almost transparent in the moment the wall was fully open, and unveil the car hidden behind it. It was having two behaviors. So we were having an interactive behavior and a choreographic behavior. So in the reactive behavior, there were just some beautiful geometrical choreographies that would make the machine being alive, and that was also expressing the potential, the aesthetic potential of the installation. But when people were passing in front of it, then the kinetic wall would move into interactive behavior, and it would open up a portal in front of people. Everything here again was parametric, so we could have up to 6 people interacting with the installation. It is still the case on the upper floor. And the more the people, the smaller the porthole. So in this way, we could have more people interacting with each other, and everyone would be able to recognize the opening that they were creating in the wall. When there were more than 6 people, the kinetic wall was going back to choreographies, because it would have been difficult to enjoy the experience with too many people. So we preferred to go to the choreographies. Also on this interactivity part, after the mechanical part, the other technical challenge was the interactivity. So understanding how to do it, how to make it work, how to make it pleasant for people in front of the wall. So selecting the right sensors is the first step with this, and understanding what kind of detection you want to do. So we went for a skeleton detection and not a face detection, even if people would interact only with the head, to make the system lighter. The choice of the sensor is also very important. We've used, in the first, in Geneva Motor Show, we used Kinect sensors, but then we changed them later on. And the choice of the right sensor is a very important part when you work with interactivity, because it really is going to craft the experience you're going to offer. And therefore, you need to set your experiential specification right to understand what's the right tool to use there. And as I said, the portal were changing in size depending on how many people were interacting there. And then the third challenge after mechanics and sensing, it was software development. So every software that we used to run the machine was custom made. We developed it ourselves. And the software development was for us also a part that would tell us how to test the installation before we actually had the installation in front of us. Because in 3 months lead production time, you cannot get the physical thing in front of you before the very end. So, but we needed to know how things would look like. We needed to know how it would have been to interact with it. So what we do in this case is we develop simulators, which is a control software that is also working as a simulation for the time we wait for the installation to be physical in front of us. In this way, we could test a lot of details. And then once the installation was there, we were using the same simulator actually to run the installation. So this was how the simulator was looking like in the beginning. So we had the actual thing replicated in digital. And we could understand how the interaction would be working with the mouse pointer. And we had developed the list on the left that you see are all the choreographies that were developed and that we could test on the software before we could see the installation. And we used it also for sizing. So this is me trying to understand how big we wanted the triangles to be. And it's very difficult when you're working on a 4 meters wide installation and you cannot see it in front of you. It's hard to understand if it's going to be too big or too small. So what we did, again, using our simulator, we projected it on a wall and we tested out different scales interacting with it in order to understand, compared to our size, my face, the height, if the sizing was proper. And based on that, we went into the production of the final parts in the exact size that you will see on the upper floor. There was also a video that was running next to it, and that was like extending the installation, and that was conveying some more details about the brand that Riccardo created, the CUPRA brand. And it was adding different kind of aesthetics as well. These are some of the animations that were on the display. The display is not with the wall anymore. It was only for Geneva. So these were some of the After Effects motion graphics that were developed and that were running on the display. The whole thing was controlled with this software, which is called Isadora, which is the only software we didn't develop ourselves. And it was made to connect the kinetic wall with the video. So the other challenge was that the installation was initially created for the Geneva Motor Show, but we knew that it was going to land in CASA SEAT. And
with a stop in Formula E in Rome, you remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So we had the stopover in Rome. So first we made it for Geneva in 2018. Then we went to Rome.
Yes.
and we brought it to the Rome Formula E race that was happening in the same year over summer, and recent. But we didn't rest. During these last 2 years, we didn't rest, and the installation is not the same it was in Geneva. What we do with our work, we work in iterations very often, so we always try to improve what we design every time we install it again. So obviously at Geneva Motor Show we noticed that some things, maybe we wanted them to be even better, and therefore we made them better for the next step in CASA SEAT. So this was the new look of the interface of the simulator you saw before. So we made things clearer, we made things neater, we actually improved the software as well. And we added a user interface that could be used also from the people from the shop. The one on the right is actually a mobile interface, so we made it mobile first. So if there is an event on the upper floor and someone wants to stop the sensor because they only want the choreographies, you only need to pair your phone with the installation, and then you can just deactivate the interaction. So this was because we realized during the show in Geneva that some non-technical people could have found difficult to actually interact with this interface. So we made it easier. And we also improved a lot of other parts. So we changed the levers because we understood that a different design of the lever would have been better, which is the one on the left. We changed the sensors because we didn't like the fact that we needed to use a double sensor to cover the whole 4.5 meters of the installation. So we made some research and we found out this was a new model of sensor that came out in the meanwhile, and that was having a larger viewing angle for detecting people. So we changed the sensor so it would be neater. We added some parts in the mechanical development, so that white little tube, it's a protection that goes inside the triangles and makes sure that the terrain wear of the triangle won't damage the paint over the years, because the installation is now permanent. So we did a lot of little improvements over the years in order for the installation to come here and be as long-lasting as possible and be permanent. And so I'll leave you with another small video, which is more about the behind the scenes of those 3 months of production. You can see a little bit everything that goes behind such a project. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if we have some time for questions, and if anybody has any question, actually, before we move upstairs. Yeah.
In terms of this parametric wall you created, how big was the team? Because in the end, I see there's a lot of interface design, graphic design, programming.
Yeah, I think we were about 10 people on the design development. Yeah, I think there were at least a couple. I would say there were full-time for those 3 months, 3 software developers, a couple of mechanical engineers, and 2 full-time designers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You need a lot of, it's very right what you said, you need a lot of diverse skills to run a project like this, because it was from the materials, from the brand to the materials, to mechanics, to software, and you really need to work together, because otherwise one thing will be missing on the other side, and there would be no balance in the end.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Carlotta?
Hello. Hello, the question is for Riccardo and related to the brand. What is before? The brand itself, the products? Because I suppose some products were ongoing while you started to create the brand. And how do you mix this part of the design coming from the cars and the brand?
So we start talking with the designer of the first car, Alessandro Mesonero, and also the team of marketing from SEAT, and we developed this concept together, because we saw the first drawings, the first model of the car, and the goal was to transform the SEAT Sport in a new brand. So, and we put together, and we explore a kind of a poetical and conceptual word, as I show you the tribal word, to become CUPRA aim to become a tribe, no? As we call the community, because at certain point I don't like the word community, because it's used everywhere. So we think about the tribe. So the people, the CUPRA people are a tribe that believe in some concept, and to C14 project the campaign, and they talk about your inner force, and I know unleash your inner force was the campaign, and because the people of CUPRA have a strong personality, and we work much more on this field instead of only the graphic project, but it was a conceptual project to build the personality of the brand. So I don't know if I answer. Your question.
Just to understand, because sometimes when you're designing a car, it's a long process. There's different projects going at the same time, and how suddenly you start to separate different directions for the brand, for SEAT, and then a new brand, and how this is applied from the product to the brand, and from the brand to the product. So how is this work mixed together, just to make the students understand?
No, yes. Sorry to not having here somebody of CUPRA, because we invite the people of CUPRA, but probably they can't come here. But everything has started from conversation between me and Antonio Labate, Alejandro Mesonero, Luca De Meo, all the people involved in this new project. And it was a very, very long conversation, because the project changed a lot of time. I showed you the last 3 concepts we explored, but it was a long story. So we don't build a graphic project, but we build a complete project of to build the personality of this new brand that I hope, I think is a very successful project, because I think that CUPRA is very strong. Now you can see the kinetic wall upstairs if you want, and you can play with it a little bit. For a question of number of people. Carlotta told me that you can split half of you. You can come at the first floor to see the kinetic wall, and the other can have a coffee in the bar, and so we can change after the coffee, and you can go to see the wall.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.